Welcome everybody, and thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the Make Your Practice Indispensable with FinSit panel discussion. My name is Gareth Cram. I'm the Product Director for Walters Clear UK Tax and Accounting, and I'm also the facilitator for today's session. So a huge welcome to everyone, and in particular to our panel, who I'll just quickly introduce to you. They're also going to spend a couple of moments introducing themselves and their practice in a moment as well. But we have Fozia Mutasser from Ready Siddiqui. We have James Goodman and also Estelle Hope from Consilium. And we've got Per Dahlström from Grant Thornton in Sweden as well. So welcome to you all, and thanks again so much for joining the panel. During the session, if you've got any questions at all, you can post them into the questions box there, and it is our intention to get to those Q&A session at the end. So please feel free as we go through, anything that comes to mind, please feel free to post questions and we'll address those at the end. And we will also be running a couple of polls through the sessions as well. So keep an eye out for those. You'll see those pop up on your screen. They'll flash up. And it would be much appreciated if we could get your thoughts on those questions as we go through. Only 3, so we're not overdoing it on the polls today. But thank you in advance for those. So we've seen over the last couple of years a huge rise in advisory services. As you all know, we've been speaking about this for some time, and it's been an interesting 12 months to say the least, we should say. So I'm going to come straight to our panelists and ask them to just talk a little bit about themselves, first of all, in their practice, but also how the practice themselves has had to adapt to challenges over the last 12 months. And if you don't mind, Fozia, I'll come to yourself first. So last 12 months, it's been an odd 12 months to say the least. How have you guys had to adopt? But if you could start with a little bit about yourself and your practice as well, that would be marvelous. Thank you.
Hi, Gareth. Thank you for having us. I'm one of the partners here out of 6 partners. We're a team of about 20 in total, all working pretty much remotely now. We are taking the lead on the digital side of things. I'm the lead on that particular front. Challenging, very challenging, the past 12 months. I think what we've ended up doing is talking more, communicating more, giving out more information, whether that's by email, by newsletter, because obviously the demand for information, especially because it's been so uncertain for businesses and clients, has just gone through the roof. It's so we're talking faster, we're having conversations so much more because we're remote. There's so much more hand-holding. I find we've become tax therapists almost. There's an element of conversation in the past where it was you would just get on with it. Now there is so much more personable information you need. We're talking about forecasting, we're talking about people's uncertainties, we're talking about clients actually closing shop, opening shop, trying something different, and they want to have that information. They want that us as being that proactive advisor, where we've actually had to handhold a lot of this conversation. So it's something that we're not used to be honest, but it's been a steep learning curve, definitely, but it's uncertain times for everybody. And obviously the accountant very much is the front line of businesses, so they've been knocking on our doors or ringing our numbers for that, for that advice.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much, Fozia. Great introduction as well. Thank you. So we'll come to James. James now, if you wouldn't mind, James.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. James. I'm a partner in Consilium. We're a 6-partner, 40 team member firm up in Glasgow. I think going into this, just what's happened in the last 12 months. Going into this, we were very much an office-based firm. Very much clients coming in to see us, as going to see clients. So pretty much 12 months to the day. I would say that all changed for us, along with lots of other businesses up and down the country. We've transitioned to everyone working from home, which has involved us providing the team with more kit so they can work effectively at home, and a big adjustment for the clients. Like I said, the business has been built around face-to-face meetings, either clients coming in or us going out to see them. We've had to adapt quickly, and again, like lots of businesses, software such as Microsoft Teams has been an absolute godsend to us both in terms of internal communications and probably a bigger adjustment for clients, having to have meetings via Teams rather than going to see them, much like Fozzie's experience. I think the demand on our services and our time has grown exponentially in the last 12 months. Not all of it billable. There's been a lot of hand-holding support where clients need somebody to talk to, just need assistance. And yes, we've been their first port of call, to be honest, which is good. It's been some interesting challenges, but challenges nonetheless.
Yeah. So lots of hand holding. I heard straight away from you both there, from both practices there, and different types of questions as well coming up. And and on that as well, I mean, James, so has your day extended because of the types? Have you found the days extended? You know, I guess it was never a 9 to 5, right? But
no, I've always been an early riser and starter, but having actually an office in the house has meant that line has become particularly blurred at both ends of the day. And I think sort of it's probably a challenge for lots of people just managing that now. And I think as the 12 months have passed, people have become a lot more aware of it, and you sort of now see it being reported on LinkedIn and the news channels, where the whole working from home and this sort of expansion of the working day is having an impact. I think people are clearly saving quite a lot of time by not having to commute in and out of their office. But yes, rather than necessarily getting all of that back for themselves, there's definitely an element of that has been absorbed into the working day.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you very much. So Per, we'll come to yourself now, if you don't mind, as well. So same question. Interesting 12 months. How's your practice had to adopt over the last in Sweden? How's the practices had to adopt?
Hi Gareth, and thank you for having me. So I'm with Grant Thornton in Sweden, and we are roughly 1,300 people spread over 24 offices. I work as a business development specialist within outsourcing and advisory, and also as a certified business advisor. It's been a challenging year, to say the least. Luckily, we already made quite a digital transformation to minimal need for physical materials from our clients. Instead, we have it digitally through our client portal, and that made it much easier on both parts. The client were used to working digitally, and so were we. We had also already gone into Microsoft Teams, so almost everyone's working from home, and it seems that we can cope very well with it. So what we did for the clients and to be ready to help them, what we did, we set up sort of a task force to make decisions faster across service lines and through the company. So we could develop COVID targeted services with a mixture of service lines combined. And that worked out really, really well. We could act fast. We can provide insights with a multi competencies. So it was a good thing to do. What we also did, as all of our competitors did, we shared lots and lots of information for free to clients through all our platforms. So it's kind of a difficult decision, like getting the balance. What do we give away for free? What can we charge for? So if you're an entrepreneur in Sweden, you had access to lots of good advice from us, and almost as good from the others.
Yeah. Thank you, Per. So lots of adapting going on that we're hearing, not just obviously from your perspective, but your clients having to do exactly the same thing as well. So great, thank you for that. We're going to run our first poll now as well for everybody who is listening in. If you could take a quick look on the screen there. So what are the key challenges you're facing with your clients today? We know there are probably countless others, but if you could please select all that apply for you, that would be marvelous. Thank you, and we shall show you the results in a moment. So you should see it on screen. Wow. Yeah, so that came across in each of your updates there as well, right? Massively increased volume of queries way out ahead there, followed by the COVID assistance, etc. as well. So yeah, still seeing reduction in fees, which is you could argue many practices were seeing this squeeze prior to COVID, so that's continued, if not accelerated a little bit. Client churn is good to see, so it's still a consideration, still a concern. But as you said earlier, you know, you're that emergency service for many of your firms, so there's a huge reliance upon you guys. So that was an awful lot about your practice and how they've had to adapt over the last 12 months or so. So with the challenges that your clients have been facing over recent times, yeah, we've touched on this a little bit. I just want to explore a little bit more before we get into the finsit conversation. Have you seen an increase in the advice being sought? Could you give any examples of the types of advice? So we've touched on maybe COVID already. So we've touched on kind of people needing their arms around them a little bit more. We've touched on people kind of want to do something else and try to do something else. So what kind of new services have you seen that have been, been sought from your client base over the last 12 months or so? So we'll come to yourself, Per, if you don't mind. You mentioned that there's a lot of advisory requests coming your way. So where's the biggest increase been? What are you seeing? Has it been a significant increase? What kind of areas are you facing into in terms of queries from your customers?
Well, most of our clients seem to have done fairly okay. I think we have a few bankruptcies among our clients, and a lot of our clients have been in industries that wasn't that much affected by it. But they certainly turned to us for advice. Most of it, I guess it's the same for you other guys, has been centered around how they can apply for different government grants. What are the rules? What information do we have to provide? How do we apply for it? What could be the consequences of applying for this but not for that? Mm-hmm. And what we've seen in Sweden is that from time to time, rules and regulations change on different grants and even on the same grants. So one piece of advice we gave them maybe in April may not be accurate in October, and in February and March, this a third version of a set of rules. So in one way, it's like a God's gift to a consultant, but it's also lots of risk that our advice are not accurate. But government grants mostly, there has been helping clients see how they have been affected and how they will be affected and how they can navigate forward. Some need to scale down, some need to get their cash flow plan very well. Some want to go into scenario planning. So it's been a mixture of things, but mainly government grants, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So that's a huge amount of information for you and your colleagues to stay abreast of, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of new information for everyone.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I don't know if you caught my question earlier, Estelle, but I was asking yourself if you wouldn't mind saying hello as well in your role within Consilia, but also and then into the same question that I've just asked to Per as well, in terms of, where have you seen the biggest increases in terms of client queries for looking for advice, guidance, and so on and so forth over the past 12 or so months?
Most certainly. I work alongside James in Consilia. I'm dealing with the owner-managed businesses, so small companies that look for a lot of help in terms of getting their business running and developing it. So in terms of what we've seen for queries coming in from clients, they're looking for a lot more advice and sort of hand-holding overall, just in terms of their business, because they do have concerns about how their business has changed and the impact of COVID on their business at the moment. But the main sort of aspects that they've been looking at is in terms of funding around COVID. So they're looking for advice on furlough to get us to help them to get set up for furlough, get the payment calculations so they can apply for that and get the money that's necessary for them to keep the staff that they already have. They're also looking in terms of advice for grant funding, so that they want us to help them with government grants, any sort of local authority grants that they can get access to, as well as bounce back loans and the business interruption loans. So we've been doing a lot round about giving information to clients and helping them with those applications to get that funding, to make sure that they can get as much money as is available to them to keep their business going the way it should be. Yeah. But out with funding, clients are also looking for our help to work out where they are and what they need to do to make the best of this bad year effectively. So we've taken the results that we have to date for the company, and then we've extended it forward in terms of bringing in their sales pipeline to work out the income that they're expecting to receive until the end of the year, and we plot the expenses for them, which allows the client to become more proactive and try and improve, make efficiencies in terms of the costs they've got to bring their business more in line to the result they would look to get for this year rather than the result they have at the moment.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Estelle. And there's so much of that is over and above the normal day, right, that you guys were running at previously. You know, how again, so a similar question I guess I asked to James earlier was just, it was never nine to five anyway for you guys, but so is it just to be in a case of how have you resourced those kind of additional challenges within? Was it just a resource, or was it the whole team digging in? How's it worked for you guys?
It generally is. It's a team effort in terms of the clients. If it's a tax query, that we would get help from the tax team, or if it was a query in terms of funding, we would speak to our corporate finance team to get help with that. So we do. You're right. It does add to your day in terms of the amount of stuff that you have to do, because you still have to do the ordinary compliance and the regular advisory work that you get. Yeah. But you somehow just manage to make that time to help the client, because you know that they really need. At this point, they do need your help. But we all tend to pull the resource together to get there and to achieve what the client needs. That way, get them the answers they need.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks, Estelle. And Fozia, we'll come to yourself next, if that's okay with the same question. Yeah. What have you been seeing?
Yeah, I agree completely with Per and Estelle. It's the teamwork makes the dream work, doesn't it? Really, and God knows nobody's been having any holidays, so that working week just went from 5 days to 7 days. It's been, I think for clients, they've been firefighting, and we've been the firefighters for them. So forecasts, cash flow, budgets, all of that crystal ball thing that we would do. Normally we're backward looking, but it's been very much, let's project this forward. So same information, it's historic information which you're now projecting forwards. So that has been absolutely key. That's not necessarily maybe every client's or accountant's forte. I certainly like tax, don't necessarily like to crystal ball gaze too much, but then it's something that you have to do now. We've had to learn internally, train internally, and we've had to then explain all of that and make it in plain English that a client can understand, and not necessarily a client who loves their figures or even their accounts and just really wants to know what's my tax bill at the end of the year. But we've had to literally become their business partners. You know, I think you should shut down for a little while and apply for this grant. So it's been very much driven in terms of what banks have required us to do. So prepare business forecasts, prepare all of that, get sort of executive summaries through, and say what you're going to do and what your plans are for the next 5 years. And this is probably owner-managed businesses who not used to applying for loans, never really needed to, but suddenly they want that buffer, they want that safety net, so they've had to apply for it. So they're having to learn something completely different. We're having to advise on, you know, actually you've never had a loan before, but maybe, just maybe, given you don't know if you're going to have cash flow, it's worth going for a bounce back loan. You know, you're not paying any repayments or interest on it for a year. So that advice has changed, and like Per said as well, it's changed from, it was evolving throughout the whole year. It wasn't static. We said one thing at the beginning of the year and it was something else. It actually changed during the year.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's been forgotten at times, isn't it? So you weren't just providing that advice once, right? Every time it iterated, there was a requirement for everybody in the firm to get up to speed with the new guidelines and the new terms and conditions, etc., and then be able to pivot quickly and offer that to your clients.
Very much so, and I don't know if anybody else felt it, but there was conversation fatigue at our end, because we got tired of talking. You know, at some point, and I'd wanted to record myself and just replay this, something I've had a conversation with another 10 clients earlier in the day. So, yeah, there was a lot more communication.
Okay, thank you, Fazia. Thank you very much for that. So we're going to do another poll now. So linked into that questions, those conversations that we've just had, has the demand for advisory services increased over the last 12 months on a scale, please? So scale of 1 to 5 in terms of the amount of advice that's been sought from your practices over the last 12 months. 1 very low, 5 very high. What's the increase looked like, please? So a good few, as you can see there, majority of firms at 4 or 5. So yeah, real significant increase, which I guess is confirming that conversation, right? No surprises there. I think we probably would be more surprised if we'd seen many in the 1 or 2. So yeah, no surprises there. So I'm going to come to yourself, Per, now, and we're specifically going to switch over to finsit for a moment, if you don't mind. So you've been using finsit for some time in Sweden from a UK perspective. We launched finsit a couple of weeks ago now. But questions about how are you using finsit? How do you think finsit helps you differentiate what you guys do at Grant Thornton from your competition, from other firms?
Well, thanks, Gareth. Well, we're in a very traditional industry, right? With very traditional reporting and, well, everything's very traditional. Used to be, at least, until 2020. What we like and why we choose finsit is mainly because of visual and graphic representation. And we think that's key, together with finsit being very dynamic. And since it's graphic, dynamic, it makes it much more interesting and attractive to look at reports. And it's much easier for clients to understand their finances too. And I think that's like the framework for it. And for them to have an advisor who helps them really understand their finances, that's also a way to differentiate ourselves, as that's not a given for everyone. So it's much of the starting point for advisor, I would say. Mm-hmm. And since we can use it dynamically in meetings with clients, we can click and we can drill down and everything and go back, we can twist and turn it. We get good conversations, and we see things about the clients that we didn't know. They see things about themselves that they didn't know. So there's a lot of questions, and we can start from there. So, and if they still don't understand it, well, that's another business opportunity, of course. And as I told you guys before, I think if our clients were as interested as we are in looking at black and white static balance sheets, they would probably be our competitors instead of our clients.
Yeah. So hugely increases engagement, is what I've heard, right? If there's lots of questions going back and forth, it's another reason to have a great conversation with your clients. Is that fair, Per?
Definitely.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Fazia, same for yourself. So you've been using finsit just more recently as one of our early adopters. Thank you again. Yes. Yeah. Thank you again for that. Absolutely. So again, to you, Fazia, how have you been using it, and how do you think it'll help you differentiate yourself from your competition?
I think, just following on from what Per said, graphical representation. I think we as human beings are much more visual. We understand graphs, and God knows, over the last year of watching the TV and all those government charts on COVID and morbid stuff, we've all become experts looking at a graph. Makes sense. We love our balance sheets, we love our profit and loss account, but God knows why people don't always share that. They don't like stagnant documents. I've had many a client meeting where I've gone through the balance sheet and you see their eyes glaze over. So it's not a rich conversation forming document accounts, to be honest. But suddenly, when we were talking around these graphs, people are actually saying, oh, what happened in June? Can you just drill down? And the functionality within finsit to be able to drill down to transactional level was what was the winning thing for me, essentially, because you're sitting in there, you've got a graph of, hopefully profit going upwards, and your client says, what was that dip in the month of June? You can just drill down and straight away say, that's it. And they go, oh yeah, I remember that. Big bulk buy. In the past, it was another boardroom, and they would say, can I have, why is my legal and professional fees so high? You may have had to get up, get the junior who's done the bookkeeping, get a schedule out, nominal, go through it on a piece of paper. That's not very nice. It's not very real time. And to be able to do that off a conversation without dragging somebody else into the room, or without you struggling to try and find the bookkeeping software that that particular information came off, it's just a lifesaver. It really is. The ability to just, as a partner level, to just drill down into anything without ever having to leave that one screen, and also leaving the room, or pulling somebody else into a meeting, or even saying to a client, I'll get back to you on that, please, or I'll email you that list, because that conversation is lost. Everybody wants things now. Um, we're used to that. You know, you want something, you buy it online, it's delivered next day. So we are all real-time people now, and we want it. Why is accountancy or figures or even accounts so historic? Why does it always have to be, I'll send you something in the post? So bookkeeping, absolute foundation. If that's there, you can have a conversation. And I think this is an enabler, definitely, to have much more detailed conversations. Like Per said, sometimes we're looking at a graph and saying, oh, you had a dip in March, didn't know that was a bad month for you. The client's looking around at the same graph and say, actually, what's that? I didn't realize I did that in the month of June. So it's definitely, it is an eye opener, both for us as accountants, as advisors, but definitely for the client as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks very much for that, James. I'll come to you with the same question, if that's okay. So finsit, how's it helping? How do you think it'll help you guys differentiate yourselves from your competition?
I think I'd probably just reiterate what Fozio and Per have said. Finsit is a great tool to enable us to have better quality conversations with clients about their financial information. In the past, we've tried to do that using spreadsheets or other tools, but it's just producing numbers. And yes, as accountants, sheets of numbers are interesting, but it doesn't get a great deal of engagement from the client. And I would agree that the whole point of it then is, particularly with the graphs and the analysis and the charts, it will potentially help us identify things that we didn't know about the client's business, but more importantly, help them to identify things. And if there are unexpected changes, it allows you to identify and drill in to see what's driven that change. If it's something for the positive, are you still doing it? If it's something a negative impact, or have you stopped? If not, you really should. So I think we don't have so many regular bookkeeping or management accounting assignments, lots of year-end work, and we really see it as a fantastic tool to help us deliver a better year-end meeting for the clients, just sort of moving along the main interest bid. Right, come on in, hit me with it. What's my tax bill going to be? Because in a lot of cases now, the clients know the profit they've made, don't necessarily know how they've made it. But this, I say, enables us to have a really good conversation with them about the how.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much, James. So we'll then put ourselves in our clients' shoes again. And so you've touched on this slightly, but I just want to think about it from the perspective of, so how have your clients, or where you have had conversations with clients using finsit so far, or where you intend to, so how have your clients found using finsit so far? Have you had any early feedback in terms of the types of conversations that you've been having, or the kind of reports that you've been sending them? What are you hearing firsthand from your clients? And if I could come to you first of all, Fozia, that would be marvelous. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've shown this to showcased to a few clients, and they've loved it, because it's great that they can feel a bit empowered. And the important thing is they don't have to call me every time they want to drill down into that thing, which is great for me. It frees me up. Whereas in the past, if they wanted management information, oh gosh, I've got to pick up the phone and speak to the accountant. Whereas now, this is effectively in their back pocket on their laptop. They're walking around with that management information to hand. They could walk into a bank manager room and say, listen, this is my figures, and it's live, and it's it's online, it's available to them. even the interesting thing about the KPIs. So KPIs are great. There's masses of KPI on finsit. The obvious ones, net profit, the gross profit, that's a bit more obvious. But then there's other KPIs like wages as a percentage of turnover. Now, for certain businesses, that is quite important, you know, what they're able to turn over in terms of staff, because their bonuses might be affected by that. So we had a client where they asked us to actually produce the KPI wages as percentage of turnover. It was there, but it's based on net sales. Now, they've historically always had it on gross sales, but we were quite easily able to add on a 20% gross markup on the actual sales figure and actually produce a KPI specific to them. So it's very easy to do. KPIs is not something that we think too much about maybe when we're having that annual account meeting, but that actually is important to them. And when you offer it to them, they suddenly realize the value of it. And they've turned around and said, oh, wow, that's interesting, because I now no longer have to call you. So long as that KPI is fixed in there, I know exactly where to go. Same thing with business overviews, the trends, etc. They're able to drill down and do this all remotely without your assistance, effectively, once they're up and running.
Perfect. And they're asking you more questions off the back of it.
They are, absolutely.
But
they
you're
are.
all right with that, right? But
We're all right with that. Yeah, I don't mind that change in conversation, which is fantastic. And there was one other thing which one franchisor client said to me, was that there are directors who are involved in the business and there are directors who like their figures. The directors who are not involved in the figures are typically the salesy type people. They really want to go out and they want to market it. So for a franchisor to be able to pull out a laptop and say, to a potential franchisee that this is the figures, they can demonstrate that. For them, it's effectively a sales tool. So that came off the back of what I thought I was presenting something else, but actually they were looking at it in a completely different view with potentials for their own sales pitch, essentially.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Fazia. Thank you for that. And Estelle, we'll come to you next. So, Estelle, how do you think your clients better than anybody? How do you find how do you think they'll respond to finsit?
In terms of our clients, I think it'll be quite good for them, because it's going to give them something a little bit more than a set of accounts. We're really trying to move away, as already has been mentioned, we're really trying to move away from the hand a set of accounts over a table, discuss the numbers. Clients can't engage with that really, and they're not getting as much out of the meeting and understanding enough about their business by doing it that way. So we're looking to use finsit as part of our accounts meetings rather than handing those accounts over. And as a result, we'll be able to on screen look at the numbers, look into the detail of the numbers, and highlight any issues or any good parts of the companies, the way that they're running. And we can then we can use that as a discussion for the future rather than talking about the past in terms of where they've been. So that's one of the main things that we're looking to do, is take it. And I think clients will like that, because previously when we've tried a similar sort of approach with using spreadsheets, clients really take to the fact that you've got charts in it, you've got detail in it, you've got narrative there. It's not just a straightforward, here are my numbers. So we're trying to change the way that we work and provide clients with more informative reports and a system that we can show them exactly what their business has done in the last 12 months to help make decisions going forward. We're also looking for the management accounts clients that we do have, we're looking to try and work it to ensure that we can give them access to the system, which means they've got touch button information at any point on their company to see exactly how it's working. At the moment, I'm working on that. We're working on it in the background, and there's one that I'm currently in progress of creating reports for that client, which has been a very easy process to do on finsit. There's not been any issues with it at all. They're looking for reports that can split their report between Scotland and London, because they have two divisions. So I've been able to go in and adapt a report quite easily to give them that information, and that will be getting issued to the client once we've completed it, and will allow the client access to those reports so they can understand how each part of the business is going.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Estelle. One of the questions that we've been asked over the last few weeks since launch was how easy if it is easy to use for both yourself and your clients. Is that how have you found it?
I found it really user friendly when I went into the system. The visual that is the desktop when you go in, the dashboard effectively is really it's easy to understand. It's laid out in a way that you can get the information that you need, and you can select the information that you want in that dashboard. And it's fantastic in terms of giving the clients all of the information in one place on the key areas that they're looking for. And in terms of reports, that you don't have to stick with the standard reports. But when I've been designing the reports, it's been easy to do. You can go in and you can adapt the standard report that's there to make it bespoke for any client. So to make sure that the system, while it's a system with reports in it, you can make sure that they are suitable to what your clients need. And that was an easy process. I didn't have to spend hours on the phone getting advice on how to do the reports. I just sat and I worked on it myself, and the reports were easy to collate.
Great to hear. Thank you. Thanks, Estelle. And Per, same question to yourself. So, yeah, how have your clients found using finsit over the past couple of years that you guys have had it implemented? What kind of things do you hear back from your clients in Grant Thornton?
Well, they like it very much. It's first and foremost because it's easy to use and it's dynamic. And as I said before, like everyone else said also, that the graphics make them easy to see things in a better way. It's very easy for them to dig down or to compare data. And essentially they get insights, overview, and details in one simple package. So we don't need another tool. We don't need the spreadsheets. We don't need external things. We've got more or less everything here. And since we can also add external data within in the system and add it if it's not in the bookkeeping, that makes it even more usable. And if they want some tailored reports, custom-made reports, we can usually fix it for them within minutes, even while we sit with them. As Poja said, we don't need to leave the room or get back to them. Most of us can do at least some tweaking while we sit with the client. And I think that's really huge for them and also for us. As what we can offer is they like they can have access to the data whenever they need it, wherever they are. They don't need to be in their office. They don't need to. They can get it outside the office hours, wherever they are, whenever they need it. And I can also tell you a funny story, because before we started using finsit, we had a competitor in Sweden that one business where we thought we were better. And when we talked to the potential client, they said, well, they had this great graphic reporting system in the bookkeeping system. I was like, no, they don't, because we have the same. And then we found out they were using finsit. The clients never got it because they didn't really get it off the ground, but they had it as their selling point. So everyone liked it, but they thought it was in the bookkeeping system. So we knew we had to get it. We couldn't keep losing business like that.
Thanks for sharing that, Per. Thank you. Thanks so much for that. James, I'm going to come to you next with a question around how are you guys in Consilium? How are you identifying, where finsit's a great fit for your clients, for where advisory services are a great fit for your clients? What's the triggers? Are there any particular triggers?
Probably not triggers for us. We could probably sort of split our client base broadly into or the business side of our client base into three broad sections, if you like. Micro businesses typically have one or two man bands, and then probably the bulk of our business is the SME, sort of maybe £500,000 to £10 million worth of turnover, and then obviously we've got bigger clients than that. And this middle section is where we think, particularly our advisory services, are most called upon already, and that's where we see finsit sitting best. And the reason for that is that the businesses of that size don't tend to have a full in-house finance function. So it's those businesses that are turning to us for advice, looking for assistance. They'll have the basic bookkeeping dealt with, they'll have a bit of in-house expertise, but they don't have the financial analysis skills. Typically, these are owner-managed, very much owner-driven businesses, so they know their business but don't necessarily understand the financial side of how it all works. So they call upon us to do that. And like I say, we see finsit as a tool to help us deliver the advice that they're looking for.
Yeah, great share. Thank you for that. Thank you, James. Per, can we come? If I can come to yourself with the same question. So, how did you guys at Grant Thornton? How did you identify where finsit was a great fit?
Well, we wanted something that could start better conversation with clients, make it easier to help them understand the business, essentially. And we needed something that could add what we didn't really already have.
Yeah, perfect. And is there a certain type of clients that you're using with them today? How would you assess kind of, do you have it with just, what's the key trigger for you about where you put somebody, whether you start using finsit with a client?
Well, our target is to have every client get advice from us, and this is a great starting point. So essentially everyone who's a accounting client gets it. That's like included in the package. If they get reports, it's through finsit. What we also did is, as it's in our client portal, every audit client, every tax client has access to it. So for accounting clients, it's connected to an API and it's integrated to our bookkeeping system. But we can import data if you're an auditor and you want to show the clients their finances in a better way, they can use it too, which means we broaden our target audience outside of just the accounting clients. So I think, for me, I think everyone needs to see their numbers in pictures rather than in tables.
Perfect. Thank you, Per. And Fozia, same question for you. So, how are you identifying? You've probably already started picking out some firms as well.
Yeah, I think the easy picks are the ones that are already on OneClick. So we already have a bunch of clients already on OneClick because that's a prerequisite. Having said that, probably more key is having clients that we are either doing bookkeeping monthly for, or they have an internal bookkeeper that is doing it monthly, because that's easy to extract that information. Or VAT clients. Quarterly reporting is around the corner, so I'm envisaging, like Per said, that you should be able to just blanket this across all client sectors, and maybe not stereotype that actually they're too small, they might not be interested. You'd be surprised how many small clients would be interested, and actually it's of more value to them than what you might have thought. It might have been a bigger client or a middle level client. Even things like, I know James said that maybe there are internal finance houses already, but we have a client who has their internal finance team, but they were doing management reports off the same software, bookkeeping software. And when I said to them, listen, by the way, you can, I'll let you have this, and you can plug it. I think their jaw dropped and thought, this will make our lives very easy, because they spent a lot of time internally producing horrible Excel sheets, which I've seen and thought, oh, ghastly. I wouldn't want to look at it. And I know their directors are not that way inclined to look at sort of figures, and they need to have more visual stuff. So it's actually a boost for the internal finance team to have access to that kind of information, even if it means I just effectively plug and play it, and they just go off and do whatever they like reporting wise internally. But it's nice to have the ability to empower your client, because the value to them is not necessarily the cost of the product. It literally is that you are giving them something that was an eye-opener. It's an enabler for them. They're able to go anywhere, anytime, and look at the figures without relying on anybody else. So for them to have that in their back pocket or on their laptop, fantastic.
Marvelous. Great share. Thank you so much for that. And so final part of this section is, I'll come to yourself again, Per, if that's okay. First of all, is what was the kind of the onboarding experience like for you guys, and also for your clients with finsit when you were getting up and running? If cast your mind back a couple of years.
Yeah, when we decided on teaming up with finsit, we wanted to make this like our standard tool, because this is part of our marketing, it's a part of our client expression, the client, what they see from us. This is and the bill is what they see most of. So we wanted to make sure that everyone knew about it and knew how to use it. So what we did, we partnered up with finsit and actually made a office tour. After we first, of course, we set it up, client portal. Then we toured every of our 24 offices. finsit came with us, and we had like an introduction, and then someone from finsit would sit down with each and every employee, which was like roughly 400 sit downs with each and every accounting employee to make sure everyone knew how to work it and show them everything. So that was like a huge investment in us, which we were really thankful for. That's got us on a flying start. So today we don't really need finsit in that supportive way. Today it's part of our own training programs. If you start as a junior in Graham Thornton, you get to learn how to use finsit like right away, because that's what we use for every client. And when we get a new client and we set them up in our client portal, the onboarding process is a few minutes, more or less. It's totally automatic. So adding a new client, 5 minutes and you're up and running.
Perfect. 5 minutes and up and running. Good.
Yeah.
Great to hear.
Yeah, agree with that, Per. Agree with that.
I was just going to come to yourself. Yeah, same for you.
Plug and play. Effectively plug and play. The setup is very fast. At the client end, it's just one more tile on their sort of normal messages and document center. It's not rocket science. Click a button, filter for periods, and you look at the period report that your accountant sent you. It's very, very easy, and that's why I said I think we need to blanket all clients, because we don't know, and we shouldn't sort of stereotype they're tech savvy or they're not tech savvy. There's so many clients who are going to be able to just use it.
Mm-hmm. I agree completely.
Great to hear. Thank you so much for that. I think we're going to have another poll, Steph, if that's okay. So for everybody who's listening in, if we could flip that up on screen, which of the following advisory services do you see providing the most value to your clients? So you get to choose your top 3 on this one. So which of the following advisory services do you see providing the most value to your clients? So 3-way forecasting, scenario planning, benchmarking, and enhanced reporting, KPI monitoring. So if you wouldn't mind, so benchmark. So 3-way forecasting out ahead there, KPI monitoring, following up, scenario planning. Good, great. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for that. So final question. We'll go final question, and then we'll pick up with some questions that we've got in the group as well. If we dare consider post-COVID, hopefully we're on our way. I'm not going to touch on wood. So wish lists. What do you think what wish list for advisory services are you guys thinking about implementing? So it's been a funny old year, as we've talked about. We've talked quite extensive there about finsit and the kind of benefits that it drives for both you guys as a practice, but also for your clients. What do you think you guys are looking to implement over the next 6 months, given what you've learned over the past period? If I could come to yourself, Estelle, first, that would be great, please.
In terms of what's happened over the last 12 months, I think it's quite apparent from discussions with clients that they're very keen to move their business to where it was before COVID and try and get their business back up and running and get the strength back there. So in terms of advisory, we're probably looking to bring something in that would allow the client to have a conversation about their business and assess what's happened and what they need to do to try and bring that up to where it was pre-COVID. And then from that, once they've built that business back up again, they probably want to quickly move on to the forward thinking in terms of developing that business. And the only way you can really do that is to provide good management information to the client and to be able to give them tools to be able to understand what is going on in their business. So it would be good to bring For instance, finsit, for example, gives us that opportunity to be able to talk to the client rather than just look at the numbers, and it starts conversations, and it helps us to work with the client to meet their aspirations for their business, and to help them build it back up again.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Estelle. Thank you, Estelle. Fawzia, can I come to you self next? So yeah, so what does the future look like for you? A whole load of learnings over the past few
Yes.
few months.
I think putting in practice now what we've learned, or we've had to fast track or speed learn over this coming year, over this past year, but coming over to the next 6 months, I think trying to get this information out, have enhanced management information for clients, onboard them to a more cloud platform so they can actually have a plug and play system in place. We think that clients will still need some sort of funding, so there'll still be third-party drivers for that information, whether it's banks or loans or bounce back loans, or even internally just restructuring their loans internally at the moment. So that would be good for them to have that. But like I said, we need them to have that information now. It's got to be real time, and it's got to be based on sort of bookkeeping and things like that. Even things now, actually budgeting for tax. So, you know, especially with cash flow being tight, it's nice for them to have the ability to actually budget for tax liabilities, employee PAYE tax, VAT tax, whatever tax it is, especially given there's a lot of people have deferred as well, got installments set up.
Perfect, thank you. And do you think so? That you mentioned a little earlier, Fawzia, that there's a lot of learning and development being having to take in practices as well, right? In terms of
Absolutely, yes.
preparing for that. Do you see that continuing as well? Do you think
That's
is that
going
a
to
new
continue,
trend?
yeah. But one good thing I think with finsit and what we've said before is that this is effectively, I mean, as accountants, I find we've been spread very thin over the years. We're having to learn this bookkeeping package, that bookkeeping package, and you can't become just one single accountancy firm with one bookkeeping package, although there are people that have done that. But I just find that we have evolved and grown over the years, and we're having to encompass and take on clients from all different levels of tech ability, but also all different levels of bookkeeping. So whether they're Excel based or on a cloud platform, what I'd really love to happen over the next 6 months is trying to get somebody onto a better platform, just so that the information that we're able to extract from that is a lot better. But yeah, I think you know, it's upward hill, but it's nice that we can at partner level actually be master of one rather than jack of all trades. So if we can get the partner level, you know, sort of master of this finsit, essentially it doesn't matter what bookkeeping package is going on, and the juniors can plug it and we can just talk off that.
Perfect, thank you. And I'll come to yourself finally as well, please, Per, if that's okay. What does the next 6 months or so look like for you guys in terms of advisory services?
We've tried through the past few years to move the focus from past to the present. Now we're looking into forecasting and simulation, so we can help people and the clients predict and take charge of their future. I think a lot of clients have realized during the COVID that they were actually more vulnerable than they thought they were. And I think a lesson learned is that they want to make sure they are better prepared if something like this will ever happen again. And if I can make a wish list, I would also just like to get back into a room with clients, just have great discussions about the goals, ambitions, and challenges. Because once we get to do that and show them things like the eye openers, like Fawzia said, in the finances and things, we have good conversations. That's when the advisor magic is happening.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Per. Thank you so much. So that's all the questions I'm going to ask the panel. I'm just going to quickly go to have a quick look at the questions board as well. So a couple of questions around the software integration. So asking which bookkeeping software that it integrates with. So Sage, just so everybody knows, so Xero, Sage Business Cloud, QuickBooks, Twinfield, Exact, Sage 50 is in development as well, and will be with us very shortly as well. We'll keep everybody communicated with that as well. Can I use Finsit on my iPad? Yes, Finsit is completely responsive, so you can use that. You can use it on whatever on multiple on whatever device that you wish. Which is probably assume how your is that where your clients are usually using it on mobile. Yeah, see if I was nodding. Yeah, cool, thank you. And question around branding that always comes up. Yes, you can put your practice branding on your reporting as well to your clients. So again, so that information comes across nicely from your practice to your clients. So that's all the questions. So thank you so much. In terms of next steps, all attendees of the webinar will be sent a recording over the next few days, as well as a write-up of the conversation that we've had. So watch your inboxes for that, please. But I would just like to thank everybody for joining us, first of all, but then extend a special thanks to my panel today as well. It's been great having you talking about advisory services and FinSit and in terms and all the difference that you guys are making to your clients. You know, there's a genuine huge amount coming across there in terms of wanting to make a significant difference for your clients. I think that's been clear to all. So appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I hope to speak to everybody again soon.